Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 668. Releasing April 30 in Australian cinemas is Seven Snipers, an action thriller that stars Radha Mitchell as a retired sniper hiding on an Australian ranch who is hunted by a vengeful warlord. Also starring Tim Roth, Ewan Grufford, and Annabelle Wolfe. Seven Snipers also marks the latest film from Sandra Scibberas, who I'm glad to say joins me now on the podcast. Sandra, how are you?
Well, hello, hello. Good. I'm very good. Thank you. Nice to be here.
So you get this screenplay written
Yeah.
by Andrew O'Keefe, and it's about a sniper. Not only that, the title's Seven Snipers, and the sniper genre in action, very niche, very specific. I can't think of maybe I can't even think of 10 off the top of my head, right? But it's something that when done right, is done really well. And your film does that. It does it right and it comes off really well. But when you first get the premise for it, and you know that this is a very kind of niche kind of form of action thriller, what's the first thing that goes into your head? Are you thinking logistics? Are you thinking, I need to get in touch with someone who knows something, maybe something about, rifle shooting and such? How's the director brain start rolling in regards to those first initial contact with the movie?
Great question. I think initially you go in there and the first thing you're going to wait for is out the world of the film, which to me was the sniper world, and I put that over here for a second, and then I just kind of read the characters, read what the kind of the heart of the story was about. I connected straight away with like the revenge and the I want something that you have and I'm going to fight to keep it, and so I really connected with the dragon and he's like die hard, I'm going to take something from you. And then I really connected to Chris Hendricks. Well, you're not gonna fucking get touch this. So there was that battle between good and evil was the first thing that I initially went, this is a really good story. And then I went to the world of it. So I was so entrenched with the characters when I was reading the script. I mean, yes, of course, I'm seeing a lot of this film through a rifle scope, but I was really connecting to the person behind the rifle first. And that's when I thought, oh, this is a good sniper film. Yes, of course, it's about the kill. Yes, of course, it's about the hunt, but it was also about just the endurance that these incredible soldiers have. And even though this was about a bunch of ex-military people, and it's in the sniper universe, but it's not a war movie or it's not, you know what I mean? It's like, so it's in this made-up world of it. I connected to the uniqueness of these particular kind of soldiers, and I think I always have, so when I watch like even some of the great kind of war films, or when I watch like, The Hurt Locker, that when I watch the films that influenced me in this genre, when those moments come on, when there's a soldier behind a scope and the quietness of that moment, and that moment is often when I really connect with those kind of films anyway. So I I wasn't nervous about it or anything like that. I was more like, oh, this is going to be exciting. If I can get this film up, I'll just immerse in that headspace. And we worked with it. The first thing we did was, connect with a really cool bunch of ex-military armorers up in Queensland, and then they brought in an ex-sniper, and we worked intensively with him for quite a while, actually. I mean, the actors only had a limited time, but he was there on set every day. So that was really vital for us.
What
Yeah.
really works for the film, I think, and what needs to work for any film really, is the emotional stakes. You have to buy in to what's happening on the screen. Otherwise, it's just a shoot 'em up, and you don't want to make that. You want to make sure that when, things happen and like shots are made, and these shots are very precise and for a reason, that you feel the impact of it not only for like as a kind of like an audio visual kind of thing, but also kind of like you kind of feel it like in the thud in your heart. So what's really interesting about it is that it's almost kind of like a psychological game, not only between the snipers that are dueling on the movie, but the audience in the film as well. You don't know where it's going to come from. You see the scope, and the scope's so cool because it's such a narrow kind of worldview. You got the circle, you got the target, but you don't have the broader aspect of what's happening around it. And I think that's a really kind of cool way to kind of really rack up that tension and have that psychological game again play out. And I think it's something that you really tapped into that makes the movie work so
Mm.
well.
And we shot a lot of it, you know. I mean, we stayed on the one location for 4 weeks. So believe me, we had a second unit as well. So believe me, we shot a lot of grass. I mean, we shot a lot. So we all of that footage really enabled the editor and us to really kind of go, when are we actually looking through the scope? When are we looking at the soldier through the scope? When are we utilizing those moments of tension on the screen? Because there was a lot of time these actors and characters are kind of waiting, and so yeah, we take a snippet of the waiting time, but really they were there for a long time. So yeah, that's the world of the film, and I think that's what I really loved directing the most. Probably was all you never know where the shot's coming from, and it's one man. It's like that's what it is. It's one dude. He's on a mission. You know.
The Matt's Movie Reviews YouTube channel is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you'll love. When it comes to the tension in the scene, plays a big part in the movie. You kind of almost catch your breath sometimes when waiting because you're waiting for that expected thing to happen. How do you kind of find the rhythms of how you want to do that? Is that something that's in the script? Is that something that you do in post? Where does that really kind of come to life for you? Those moments of the tension and just until that release comes of that bullet.
Yeah, I think this film is a really great example of like a director like me loving the writer, and we have producers, with Grant Hardy and with Tristan Barr. We love what we had, and you know, it wasn't about me. I didn't want to mess with that because when it
Mm.
was a page turner for me, and the quietness and the silence and the waiting, and we're in the Australian bush, so you're seeing the bugs, you're hearing the bugs, you don't know if you're going to get killed by a snake in a heartbeat. You got all these things when you're reading the kind of script. So I just followed that, and I just used my instincts when we were there on the day, and we were working with the actors in the grass and wearing the ghillie suits, and we just shot. And when an actor was behind a scope, waiting, looking, we really made them wait and look. So all of that balance, all of that kind of fine line balance then came into the editing room. So for me, it was about shooting the drama and shooting the actors behind the scope, shooting what they saw and imagining what it would be like. And that tension was kind of always on set as well. So we just took the script to set to post. And then of course there's an incredible editing time where you can really, really experiment with how much action versus tension, how much thriller versus action, how much suspense we're creating overall as well. A lot of that's in the editing room.
The character of Chris Hendricks, codename Voodoo Child, which is an awesome code name, I think. I always loved, growing up movies in the 80s and 90s. There's always like great code names for these heroes and such.
Yeah.
Voodoo Child, I think, is up there, one of the better ones for sure. Um, she's a slow burn character in that you don't know much about her when you first see her. You kind of have certain perceptions. Is she paranoid? Is there a certain amount of PTSD it's happening, which is both may be true. But then as she slowly kind of reveals herself, even physically, the scars on her back tells a story, right? Not the
Yeah.
whole story, but a story. When it comes to Radha in his character, um, how much of backstory does she bring? How much do you bring? Was there already backstory beforehand? How do you like to develop that with your actors?
I mean, I had a lot of backstory. The writer had a lot of backstory. We all had our own version of the backstory, and Andrew, the writer, and I had kind of known each other for a number of years, so we knew the world of what was in the past. But yeah, no, then you've got Radha Mitchell coming in, you've got Tim Roth coming in, and then it becomes a different conversation. They have to own that backstory. So for the Chris Hendricks character, there's some things that she wanted to hang on to. There was obviously a past 16 years ago, 17 years ago, and it was a military past, and it was an event that took place. And so that had to be kind of based in some sense of reality for both of the actors. So they came in with the conversation around what do they think happened. This is what actually kind of happened in our world, and as a storyteller, and I wanted them to kind of stick within, the event that took place that unfolds in the film, and then who they are as individuals and what they wanted from each other 17 years ago is was kind of their own story to bring to the role. And and they did, and it wasn't a different story. So it all worked, and I think that's yeah, I think you're very lucky when as a director you've got actors that are on their own path, but they're kind of on the same page. So it made my job a lot easier. But also I think the work is, on screen when you see them. They really embed who they are in those characters.
You don't really see the dragon until maybe half hour into the film, maybe as to who he is, but you feel him throughout those first half an hour, like just the way people talk about him and their reactions to him. To have an actor that can play something and live up to the almost like the hype or the trepidation of what this character is. You got Tim Roth here who does a fantastic job, and I think what I really love about what he does in this movie is that it's the type of character that maybe someone can overplay, bring a really kind of villainous kind of like twirl moustachey kind of thing. He really kind of underplays it, which works so well because of who he is. He's the he's the chameleon that's hiding, in the tree, ready to strike at any moment. Um, when you get him on board and you have that kind of that Tim Roth intensity that he's known for, what's it like filming him in those scenes where you kind of see him kind of like at work doing that kind of the stuff that he's so great at doing, as we see in this movie?
He really is like quite exceptional. Like I think that he's, I mean, he's a very generous, kind, decent human, behind all of that. So, he walks on set and, he's about to, become like a great villain. And he does it like just so easily. But it's Tim Roth, and behind it, there's the way he's seen the dragon and the way he embeds who the dragon is. He humanizes him. So there's yeah, I don't know, like, I mean, like a villain with a smile is pretty nasty.
Mm.
It's probably the nastiest thing when, killer with a smile. It's like, what? And I think he has that. He can bring that to a film like this. And so yeah, no, he was very honored. He knows what he's doing. He was so respectful and so, you know, um, so kind to me as a director and working with Radha and everybody else on set. I mean, but no, he was there to scare the shit out of us and then the moment that's finished, it's like, okay, can I get out of the, what are we doing now on the grass? Definitely threw himself in there. I mean, and man, it was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot. And he wore that ghillie a lot. So he was full on, you know.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon Prime Video. One of the best on-demand streaming services available, Amazon Prime Video features exclusive Amazon originals as well as popular movies and TV shows. Watch Amazon Prime Video anytime, anywhere. Sometimes I pick up little things when I watch these movies, and I tend to ask kind of like silly, what I call silly questions, because maybe, other people might not have picked up on them, maybe they have, I'm not sure. But I'm going to go ahead and ask anyway. Two things I picked up in this film. The headband, the red headband, especially when Radha wears it at the end, evokes to me some of the iconic imagery of like a First Blood style Rambo kind of thing. Then there's a scene. I don't want to give away too much of what happens. It
Mm.
kind of reminds me a bit of the Deer Hunter with
Mhm.
the Russian roulette kind of thing as well. And these are very notorious films or iconic films in the fact that you're dealing with same subject matter, you're dealing with figures, they're dealing with PTSD, you're dealing with the war coming home as opposed to the war, being in a war field. Were those kind of like moments in the film that you knew of yourself or Andrew in the screenplay? Were they kind of like a little bit of tributes or nods to movies like First Blood and The Deer Hunter?
I mean, I don't know if from Andrew's point of view, but we're 90s kids, like, I mean, yeah, you picked two of the finest films on the planet as far as I'm concerned, and 100% for me personally, when I went in there and when I read the Red Bandana, I totally went with it, even though sometimes it sounds, it felt at times I went, oh God, is this like too much of a cliche? Like but no, when you embrace it in this genre and you have fun with it and you go, yeah, no, totally Rambo. And The Deer Hunter is such an amazing film, right? So
Hmm.
the concept of the bandana, yes, I think it's like absolute kudos to some of those amazing, incredible films that changed, certainly changed my life. And it works really well in this film because it adds a kind of 90s flavor to the film as well,
Hmm.
which was something that I think we needed to do, or I needed to do in order to just have the film. It's not $100 million movie. So you gotta, connect to those things that will help make the film a little bit different as well. So for me, it was about trying to get that little bit of, it's got a bit of humor every now and again as well. So yeah, that's a good pick. It's a very good pick.
Final question here. Movie's coming out tomorrow, April 30. First film to release by Monster Picture Studios. Um, for the life of me, and I asked this of many different things about the Australian film industry, action films, genre movies, is just something that the industry as a whole doesn't embrace it like it should, especially action movies. We're the country that made Mad Max, for Christ's sake. We're the country where so many big Hollywood productions come to us and they use our facilities and our crews and all because we know how to make that stuff here. But there's not enough of them made. What do you think it is about the industry as a whole in Australia where genre films like an action movie like Seven Snipers, that when we see it, it's like a breath of like, oh, finally, we're embracing something that we're really good at and that we have innovated and such. And I think Seven Snipers does that, but I want to see more of it. Do you think hopefully with Monster Pictures and more of these kind of boutique kind of studios will make more of this stuff? Because, like I said, we're the country that
Totally,
invented so much of this stuff?
totally, totally, right? I mean, we were slow off the back, I think, with funding bodies because they were government funding body as well. So I think that I don't, I mean, even with horror to a degree, horror has taken a kind of, come back to
Hmm.
this with with our funding bodies, with Screen Australia in particular. Action, I don't know what it is. I know that Screen Queensland, I purposely took this film to Queensland because I felt that they are the state that take risks, and they didn't see this film. I don't think they saw this film as a risk. I think they saw this film as that's a good movie and audiences will like it. So let's fund it. So that was good. So in that sense, we were supported by state funding body, but our major one, Screen Australia, I think it's so competitive too for things. I think it's really hard for them to gauge I mean, I don't want to be too kind, because
Hmm.
it's hard making films with that extra financial support. Like, in a country like this, I suppose, it's not easy. But this film yeah, we should be making more. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, why has it taken me, 4 films, 5 films, 20 years to fucking get my hands on? I've had my hands on scripts like this my whole career, but it's taken this long to be able to get it made, and for an act to work with an actress like Radha, who's been around these kind of films her whole career as well, for her to be in a leading role film in this genre, why has that taken 20 years?
Hmm.
Just stupid. We love these films. I mean, it's my go-to. It was my go-to at video stores. It's my go-to, you know. Um,
I'm the same. It's
so
my go-to as well. Yeah.
yeah, and I think anything to do with military and war, like there's always the like such respect, there's always the depth of high stakes drama, of this high stakes tension, there's all of that at the same time. So actually this genre was perfect for me in this film. That's kind of like I got my combination of, always wanted to direct kind of military world and I've always wanted to direct action. So it was like a beautiful mix for me. But no, I think we 100% should be making more. I mean, I watched, Luke Sparks' film Primitive War. I mean, oh, with
Mm,
Ryan Quanten.
mm.
Like, what the hell, man? Well, like, how are we not making those films? I just think it's silly because it deserves to be made. And yeah, we're Australians. We know what we're doing.
Yep.
So why not? And I think Monsters Picture Studio, good on them for picking this film as the film to kind of launch them. I think it was a fun idea and a smart idea, and love the team there. So maybe that's all we need. We need to just like take a risk, find the right people to support it, and go for it, and do the best that you can.
Well, I kudos to you, kudos to the team at Monster Pictures as well, because I really enjoyed Seven Snipers. And for everyone out there, April 30 in Australian cinemas, go to the cinema, watch this movie, support your local content. If you're thinking about watching something else, don't go watch Seven Snipers this week, okay? Watch it, and really, you'll really dig what this movie has for you. You'll find yourself catching your breath several times in this movie. I know I did while watching it. Great performances by Radha, Tim Roth, in really great locations like Ipswich in Queensland. It all works really incredibly well. And again, action back in an Aussie film. That's what we need. And Sandra, thank you so very much for your time. Congrats on the movie, and hope we can talk again in the future. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure.
absolutely, absolutely, love the show. Thanks, mate.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.